Welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching Front and Center here on NTV. Many thanks for staying with us. It is a big day for the legislative arm of government. The 13th Parliament has convened today. The 4th Senate also has convened. The National Assembly has elected Moses Masika Wetangula as its Speaker of the 13th Parliament. And of course, the Senate elected former Governor of Kilifi, Amason Jeffa Kingi, as the Senate Speaker in a day that was filled with some drama and excessive lobbying. We'll get to know what was happening there. And of course, we want to take a look at what will be happening in this 13th Parliament, in this 4th Senate. I am joined in studio tonight by lawyer and political strategist Kipchumba Karori, a member of that 4th Senate, nominated Senator Gloria Oroba. Welcome, madam, and congratulations. Also with us is lawyer and political analyst Martin Olo, joining us also tonight. We are supposed to be joined by Dan Manzo, the senator for Makueni, but he says he's stuck in Parliament. I don't know doing what, because right now it's the National Assembly that is in the process of voting in or electing a deputy speaker. We shall be going back there where Vincent Oduor is burning the midnight oil to tell us who that deputy speaker is going to be. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. But before we get into it, Kipchumba, the biggest story tonight across the globe is the death of Queen Elizabeth II, the longest-serving British monarch, who, when she received the crown, was actually here in the country back in 1936. I'll give you 30 seconds to say something about it before we get into that.
Ben, I think I joined the world in mourning her passing, and to all the people who looked up to her for leadership, and even the leaders, the current leaders, the young people, the women of this world, I think she led a dignified life. She was a solid lady, and she held together the British monarch and even the entire Commonwealth. I think we are less by her demise, and we hope that the British people and the Commonwealth people will continue from where she left. And we hope that the incoming king will serve with the same grace the lady did.
Gloria, you're not such a big fan of the monarchy. What do you say?
Well, 70 years and 7 months. That's how long her reign was. 70 years and 7 months. And actually, it is important to note that she actually was there during the whole time when we had the African decolonization. So, I mean, for our part of history, it's bittersweet because, you know, having to break the chains from colonization as an African state, Kenya is. So, but we say rest in peace, and, you know, history is history, and this is a part of the history that is going to be written. 70 years and 7 months is a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and also throughout the whole time, regardless of all the, you would say, misinformation or the information, even remember when we heard about Princess Diana and what they would call scandals behind it, it's still important to note that the monarch was respected, highly respected. So that should also tell us.
Kept it together.
Yes, that should also tell us as Kenyans when we are, you know, when we are proud of our culture, when we are proud of who we are, regardless of what the international community thinks of us. That's where we need to go as a country.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Martin, she has seen 15 British prime ministers, 14 American presidents, and 5 Kenyan presidents. What are your words?
I think 3 words: grace and commitment and nationalism or patriotism, really. When you look at what the institution of the monarchy does in the UK, it stabilizes that country, it gives it the order that it has. Remember that Britain does not have a written constitution, yet the history and the traditions, the Westminster tradition, and the Westminster democracy are things that have been founded even within that monarchy. So what a perfect example of how leadership can coexist, how respect for institutions can actually outlast individuals. Remember, she's been there longer, as you've just put it, but she has held that institution to the highest esteem with her grace and also with her commitment to serve the people of England. She's the head of the Commonwealth, and Kenya is a part of the Commonwealth by
it is what it is.
dint of history. And so we mourn the loss of the Queen.
All right. Of course, we are keeping an eye on that. After this broadcast, we shall be taking you back to the UK to just cover what's happening there. Let's come back to the order of the day. And we are back in business as far as Parliament is concerned. Let me begin with you, Kipchumba. And we'll address both the Senate and the National Assembly as we go, because we have seen a similar trend. Kenneth Marende, beaten in the first round of the election of the National Assembly Speaker. He withdrew for the second round. Therefore, the acting clerk, Sarah Kioko, had to declare Moses Wetangula as a Speaker of the National Assembly. And of course, Amason Kingi also winning in the Senate. What was your initial reaction to how the Houses of Parliament have started their business?
I think, Ben, I start by congratulating all the members of Parliament who have been sworn in today, my good friend Gloria Urwoba included. Secondly, I also congratulate the two gentlemen, Moses Masika Wetangula and Amason Jeffa Kingi, for being duly elected as the speakers of both houses. There are a few things that you will learn from whatever transpired today. One, looking at the nature of our democracy, you have to appreciate it. When I saw those members of Parliament being sworn in, I was happy because the mosaic nature of our nation was being represented. You could see the young, the old. It is weaving together of our society. So I have a lot of hope in this Parliament. And then again, you can see there are serious professionals in that Parliament. There are people with different backgrounds, which means that Parliament will be richer. There are also people with enough. There are ranking members there.
Right.
Remember, we have Duale and all these people, Mbadi, people who've been in Parliament for a while. So we hope that they will transform the debating tradition of Parliament, the positive tradition. And then again, when I saw the debate transpire today and about electing the Speaker, there is something that came to my mind, that Azimio transmitted their confusion, their global or the national confusion in politics to Parliament today. And I am really hoping, Ben, that that confusion will not subsist. Because you realize, first of all, Kalonzo took nomination for 2 seats, Speaker of National Assembly and the Speaker of Senate. Midway, he withdrew, and then there was a ruckus, some flimsy grounds that something has happened. So at the end of the day, and my hope for this Parliament is one, that we will reduce political contestations and focus on the things that are really putting Wanjiku on the ground.
All right.
Number two is that we will try, or that house will try to make sure that it will not become an extension of the executive. Because the 12th Parliament, you could not know until there was impeachment or there was a contestation on something, you could not know where the Parliament ended and where the executive began.
All right. Let me.
So I think they have a lot, and even when you look at their entry,
there are those who say, Kipchumba, when we were speaking to the senators of Azimio, who some of whom walked out during that, just before the election of the Speaker, they were accusing the President-elect William Ruto of the same thing, saying that this is trying to have Bunge as an extension of the executive.
No.
Is that
Ben,
unfounded?
there is something we need to win over Azimio very fast. And it's been a cry since LDP. You cannot always be looking for a perfect condition to do something. Even if you are to bring everything they wanted, they will have said, we want the moon inside Parliament. Or they'll have said, no, we want even the Queen to come here. So at the end of the day, Azimio or the people, a certain part of this country, they never get enough of what they want. So, two, they knew from the word go for the longest time that, that, for example, Jeffa Kingi was going for that seat. Secondly, the outgoing Speaker of the Senate was a governor before. So why do you want, and there was the issue of that wheelbarrow, what would we call the wheelbarrow?
The carcinogenic.
Yeah, the carcinogenic wheelbarrow, as it was called. That issue was still pending.
Okay.
But today, to come and just say, you know what, the other thing also that we need to appreciate in this country, Ben, is that when you have more numbers than Kipchumba, I need to say the majority won and the minority are there. So at the end of the day, we need to be gracious enough to accept that at times we do not have numbers.
Martin, watching the happenings at the Senate today, especially, what did you think with the walkout and the demands or grievances that they had.
You know, one of the things that I like to talk about is that we must speak the truth and face our reality as it is. You cannot talk against political contestation. That's the essence of politics. That's the essence of debating. That's the essence of political journey. So yes, we expect that to happen in Parliament. In fact, that's the place where it should be. Secondly, when it comes to the issue of parliamentary traditions, what you saw there is a long-held parliamentary procedure called filibustering. Now, filibustering is when you know you don't have numbers, you find ways in which you can stretch processes in order for, if possible, to scuttle whatever is happening. Now, that's a parliamentary process. Filibustering is a renowned process. Now, that said, there is an issue, and again, sometimes we let the issues fall within the noise. I was listening to Honorable Okongo Mugeni, and he was saying that there is perhaps need to transform how we clear people for, you know, who seek positions such as a speaker and so on, and saying that perhaps, and that's maybe not for now, it's something that needs to be the standing orders, and maybe something that needs to be in legislation in the future. All so right. That what is the process that you use to clear? But that having been said, I am, maybe again, let me congratulate both the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the National Assembly. For one thing, they are people who know the law, they are advocates of the High Court, and have experience around the issues, and I hope that they will exercise wisdom, right. They will be objective, because they are not elected as speakers of any of the parties that have elected, rather speakers of the Senate and the National Assembly. So they'll have to be objective and serve Kenyans, as it were.
Gloria, you were in that, you are on the floor of that house, and again, congratulations on your nomination as a Senate in this fourth Senate, a senator in this fourth Senate. What really was going on? Maybe you can give us a first-person account.
Well, it was very obvious that the numbers were lying on one side. They were the Kenya Kwanza. And I'm glad that Wakili has actually cleared out and actually explained what filibustering is. And it was really that they were just trying to prolong. They knew that we don't have the numbers, so what else can we do to try and prolong this procedure? Not that we are prolonging it so we can get numbers, just let's prolong it and figure out what we are going to do ahead of time. So the first thing actually that was very important is that they first started by saying that as we are seated, you can see that some of our members who should be sitting on our side, they are sitting on the other side. The issue of the legal majority. And, you know, that was cleared out by, you know, it was read out to them that constitutionally you can sit wherever you want, particular for that special sitting. Right. Then they went into the next thing, which was now about nominated senators, because our Gazette notice came out very late in the day yesterday. And so there was an argument that was fronted to the floor that said that the nominated senators were actually shut out from the process of having to apply to be a deputy speaker. Yes. And so therefore all these women who have been nominated, you know, me being one of them, and people with disability, they were shut out from actually.
Were you shut out?
No, I honestly, I was actually looking in the house and I was like, hey, these nominated people, kulikuwa na mtu anataka kukuwa deputy speaker. Nobody had the intention of applying for deputy speaker. But as Wakili said, you know, when you're trying to frustrate a process, you come up with all these technicalities. So they said that because the point of order that was put out was that, listen, the Gazette notice for nominated senators came out so late that if there was any woman who wanted to actually participate in applying for deputy speaker, they were shut out. Which, when you think about it, was an argument that could hold water. The issue, though, was that that was the second order of the day. And so that was shut down by saying the first order of the day is that we vote for the speaker. So for now, we are voting for the speaker. And when we get past voting for the speaker, you can now raise the issue of the deputy speaker, where now the women were locked out. The other thing that after that was put out was that then they said that they did not have CVs. They actually were like, okay, you know, because, you know, it is about throwing everything and hoping one of them sticks.
Right.
Then they said that, listen, we didn't get CVs and we must vote based on CVs.
And clearance from
Yeah,
EACC
first
and
it
so
was
on.
CVs.
All right.
And then it was actually put out on the floor that, listen, you should have been here yesterday when there was orientation and all this, because CVs were actually distributed to all senators. And then they said they didn't get. So the clerk was fair enough to say, raise up your hand. If you don't have a CV, you get a CV. When they received the CVs, they said, but these CVs do not have what constitutes on Chapter 6. Meaning we do not know if these people have been cleared, whether they have KRA, blah, blah, blah. So
we
it
agree
was looking for
it
something.
was the ultimate filibuster.
And eventually when that one did not work, they then, as usual and as is typical of Azimio, they said, listen, the process is already flawed. We are not going to participate in this election. And they went out and gave out a press conference saying that the process is flawed. And so they're not going to participate in that election. So the walkout, really what it was supposed to do was to ensure that we do not meet the two-thirds, you know. Because you could actually outrightly win, but if you don't meet the threshold of the two-thirds, we have to go round 2 and round 3. But lucky enough, what happened is we saw now on a national platform, the local politics playing. Because remember, Amason Kingi comes from somewhere. He comes from the coast region. And whether you like it or not, you know, despite the political divide,
yes,
he is a coastarian and he has people who support him, including in the Senate. So we saw that we had actual Azimio senators who come from the coast region, who, despite or above and beyond whatever was going on, for them it was like, we have never had a speaker coming from our region. So, I mean, it would be really foolish if I do not sit in and vote for our person. So, I mean, and eventually that carried the day, and he
Which is
got
a good
the
thing,
two-thirds,
right?
which is really a good thing.
I want us to talk about the legal majority issue that you raised. And Bonawaki, let me come to you. We listening to the Narok Senator Ledama Olekina speaking as he was trying to explain what was happening. He said, among other things, that in the Senate, like today, the elected senators, we had 23 on the Azimio side and 23 on the Kenya Kwanza side. And then we have 2 of those Azimio ones, they belong to UDM, which has switched over to Kenya Kwanza. But, you know, according to legally, it is a part of Azimio. And that the same thing is being replicated in the National Assembly, where UDM members and Maendeleo Chap and the other parties are officially in Azimio, but they have switched and they can't move until after 3 months. So what is going to happen really in terms of, because Kenya is a presidential system, it's not a parliamentary system. So parliament is supposed to be, you know, bipartisan. Why is it so important that, you know, numbers, government has to have numbers, and this other side also wants to have numbers so that they can frustrate government and all that?
You know, Ben, one of the things that we need to appreciate about this country is that there is no ideological divide between what you call Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. In fact, today what played out is very interesting. That Amason Kingi, until the other day, was part and parcel of ODM.
He's a life member.
He's a life member, yeah. Well, he's now, he could have resigned, he could have joined this other party. Moses Wetangula, apart from being a Ford Kenya member, was a member of NASA the other day and worked with Raila in the other regime. Same to Musalia Mudavadi, and same to William Ruto. At some point, he was a member of the Pentagon, so was Musalia, and so on. So basically, when what you're looking at is not about ideological. So at any one given time, depending on what interests you are serving, people coalesce. So she's right to say that when it came to now voting for a speaker, it was no longer about Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. If you are from the coast, you wanted to go with your guy. That's why Stuart Mazeo decided, no. If this guy has been elected, why? Because then we have had our coastal share. Similarly to what happened in the National Assembly. Yeah. I can bet that there were people in Azimio who voted for Moses Masika Wetangula just because they knew he already had numbers and that he was likely to be, so they went that way. That said, basically the 2 issues we are dealing with, and this country is interesting. We do not have a purely presidential system, neither do we have a parliamentary system, but we have a mix of both. All right. So that when you are in the executive, you want to have a handle on the legislative, because certain parts of your agenda actually run around, not just the legislative agenda, but also your programmatic agenda in terms of the budget process and so on. Remember, with the establishment of the office, budget office, parliamentary budget office, budgeting is actually a function of the National Assembly, and that the executive simply works together with the National Assembly to get government resourced. So for that reason, you want to have a good handle on both sides. If you are the president, you want to make sure that your programs can run, right, and that your allies can actually help you to achieve your agenda. And that's what was playing out today. And we must respect that as an institution of democracy. However, that said, I want to say this on, I think today is the 8th. With the arrival of Kenya Kwanza, and perhaps not even Kenya Kwanza, because even that alliance is yet to be cobbled together, but with the arrival of UDA and the nature of politics that are playing out, we are likely to see a rebirth of one-party politics. So that you have people who are legally on one side of the party sitting on this other side of the party. In the past, what Moi did is that you were elected, then he asked you to defect, because then you would come and be voted for in Kano. I mean, that is a little changed now, but we also know that we have a new law that is actually going to help to stem that. But it is in this country that we are, and we know what happens. I was very intrigued yesterday when I saw in a briefing of one of the parliamentary group, there was a level of confidence that we already have 10, 15, or even 20 of people who are not here, but who are also on the other side, right, who are going to be with us. So with that kind of confidence, you can be sure that knowing who we are going to run a one-party state in the next couple of months.
Kipchumba Karori, are we headed back to a de facto one-party state?
I would like to honorably differ with my teacher on two fronts. When we had the handshake, they did not call it a one-party state, but it was actually, it was an overthrow of our constitution. I am, as a Democrat,
from saying that.
As a Democrat,
I mean, the current president-elect has always said that.
Yeah, and I am prosecuting this to the extent that we are a multi-party democracy. We should remain as so. But if we cascade down to our constitution, it says the function of a member of parliament are to oversight, legislate, and represent, and that budget-making process. So at the end of the day, we do not try to endeavor and create other creatures outside that which the Constitution has stated. Because if you read the Constitution purposively, you realize that there is no opposition member of parliament and there is no government member of parliament. Both of them are there to serve the four functions. And that's why I also submit that I hope in the 13th parliament, they will not try to reinvent CDF, for example, which is nowhere around the law. Because by doing that, we are trying to co-opt more powers away from what the law has given us. And secondly, also on the issue of whether we are becoming a multi-party or something, then you have to realize that at the end of the day, you cannot, for example, tie the conscience of the independent, the 20 or so independent, are they 20 or 12? 12. The 12 independent members of parliament, yes, to one side. If they feel today that the idea being brought about by Kenya Kwanza is worth them to coalesce there, they will go there. All so right, because it is one nation, and I think
I want you to hold on that thought. Let's cross live to Parliament and listen to what is happening there. Farama Alim, one of the candidates for Deputy Speaker position, is currently speaking.
You have served this House before in the capacity that you are seeking to serve again. Honorable members, the clerk having announced the final results of the vote, I therefore declare the Honorable Gladys Jepkoskei-Boss, woman representative for Uasin Gishu County, duly elected as the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly in the 13th Parliament. I now request two honorable members of this House to locate, identify, escort, and introduce to me the Deputy Speaker-elect so that she may take and subscribe to the oath of office of a Deputy Speaker. Here before me in the assembled House in accordance with the Constitution. mic.
You begin with the oath.
It's going to be not from the back of this place.
You begin with the oath.
I'm told the Honorable Father, excuse me, you said the journey starts from the back. I am told, advised that your journey must start from the bar. Yes. So we may have to repeat that.
Mr. Speaker, I have the honor of introducing Honorable Gladys Boss-Sholei as the duly elected Deputy Speaker of the 13th Parliament.
Congratulations. Do you affirm or you swear for the Bible? Okay.
I, Gladys Boss, having been elected as Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, do swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people and the Republic of Kenya, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, that I will obey, respect, uphold, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, and that I will do to all manner of persons in accordance with this Constitution of Kenya and the laws and conventions of Parliament without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
Congratulations. You may proceed and sign your oath of office.
Thank you.
All right, live pictures there are coming to you from the floor of the National Assembly chamber. There, Gladys Boss-Sholei declared duly elected Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Remember, in the first round of voting, Gladys Boss garnered 198 votes. Farama Alim garnered 139 votes, meaning that no candidate received the required two-thirds majority to be pronounced winner in the first round. But of course, shortly after that, just as happened during the election of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Farama Alim conceded defeats, meaning that Gladys Boss was declared, and she has just taken oath of office as the Deputy Speaker in the National Assembly. Quickly, Kipchumba, before we get back to our point, your quick reactions to that.
I think mine is as a proud member of Uasin Gishu County and a serious stakeholder of Kenya Kwanza is to wish Gladys Boss-Sholei well because she has the competence and the capacity. And it goes back to what we spoke earlier, that this election must inspire a generation, must inspire a section of this country. So I think for a young girl, young lady somewhere sleeping tonight, they must know that they have the right platform to aspire for anything they want in life.
All right. Gloria?
I'm very happy. I'm so happy. I think today is like one of the best days in this quarter of the year. And you know, as a Kenya Kwanza, we had a women's charter. And in that charter, we really endeavored and said that we need to, you know, empower our women. And seeing Gladys Bos-Sholei taking it and actually, you know, taking oath to be the Deputy Speaker, for me, it is so inspiring. And I want to say that this is the real gender issue. It is not about one person. It is not about one particular. It is about ensuring that in all spaces that we have proper representation for the women, and that we actually not just focus on one individual, but we try as much as possible. If it's a cabinet, if it's in the National Assembly, which we are seeing now, if it is in the Senate, I am actually feeling very, very inspired. And I think that it's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. This 5 years is going to be a different kind of politics, not the one that we are kind of used to.
All right.
Yeah.
Martin?
No, I think I'm personally happy for Gladys Sholei. She deserves it. She's been around public life for a while. She's a hard worker. She's fairly smart and a reform-minded person. I mean, right from her days in the Kenya law reporting, the judiciary, and so on, you can track her for some things that she's able to do. I've worked with her in other capacities, and so I know that when it comes to reforms in the House, she might be good for reforms in the House, supporting those programs and so on. So this is good for the country. All right. And it's good for our coalition as well.
All right. Let's get back to our initial discussion that we were having, and this again brings us to that. Kipchumba, I want you to finish your point. So Kenya Kwanza have both the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker in both houses. This kind of buttresses Wakili's point here that, one, the government is pushing, the executive is pushing to also control the legislature.
I will not like to look at it from a pessimistic point of view. I would like to look at it from the opportunities that are now presented to Kenya Kwanza in terms of implementing the plan, in terms of making sure that the bottom-up economic model can now be run through both Parliament and the National Assembly, both the Senate and the National Assembly, sorry. So that is how we need to look at it. The other thing, William Ruto has been categorical, the president-elect. He has said we want to amend the standing orders so that cabinet secretaries are responsible, are held responsible by members of parliament. So I think the issue of saying they will be conjoined cannot happen, because if they go to parliament and our parliament is live, so members of the public can follow and know if parliament is doing its role or not. And then the other thing is, we must at times appreciate progress. If Kenya Kwanza is the largest coalition, and for it to implement its agenda, it has to have a house that is also in concordance with whatever we are saying. So I don't find anything wrong. And it happens in America, it happens in the British Parliament. So when the Conservatives have the whole thing, so that is how it should be, because you cannot. And then again, there is something that Kenyans must appreciate, that when there is a lot of political contestation in Parliament, it is not politicians who suffer, it is the ordinary mwananchi, because at the moment, Ben, there are so many, in terms of policies, we have around 27 bills that needs to be ratified in Bunge, so that Kenyans can appreciate some of the plans within the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. So we look at that as an advantage to mwananchi, because when we have our Kamukunji as Kenya Kwanza, we will thrash out some of these things, and we are not doing it for the party, but for the people. Because that is a party for the low list of the people in the
Before I go to Gloria, Martin, do you accept that?
You see, one of the things that we need to underline in this conversation is that there is no government called Kenya Kwanza. There is a government of the Republic of Kenya. And that government will have to work across for everybody. That said, of course, there is a manifesto, there's an agenda that this government wants to implement. So it requires the support of Kenyans to implement that agenda. So it therefore requires a parliament that understands what that agenda is. It's even the better when it controls the majority in parliament, because then it can convince the majority to convince the others to bring the others along with them. No problem about it. What is critical for me is also in terms of where we are going to in the future. Now the current coalition has the majority in the executive, has the majority in the two houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. So the next conversation we want to be having here, Ben, over the next 12 months is what in Kiswahili we call uwajibikaji, accountability. Because then at the end of it all, either the majority goes to sleep and the minority gives them the wake-up call, or they'll actually use that the majority to serve the Kenyans in such a way that Kenyans will have no reason to raise issues. So I have no problem whether they're in control. In fact, in some of the best cases, and you can look at even the US and so on, bipartisanship tends to bring out the best among people and among governments than majoritarianism, because majoritarianism sometimes actually lords it on others and sometimes loses the richness or the wealth of the minority in terms of programs that are all inclusive.
Right. And sometimes you even see President Biden, the American president, having to almost engage Republicans to be able to pass legislation. But Gloria, the president-elect, your party leader, has said that he wants very clear lines in terms of what the executive is, and so that there is accountability of his government can be kept in check, you know, not what in his words has been happening over the last 4 years with the handshake. But is he, do you believe he's again going to erode that same parliament to make it?
You know, first of all, for anyone to demand for accountability, they must accept that there is a political divide. You cannot be accountable for an arm fasting. It is a Jubilee government with a Jubilee manifesto, and therefore we are holding Jubilee accountable for what they promised the electorate. And so therefore, it is a Kenya Kwanza government with a Kenya Kwanza manifesto, and for you to demand accountability, you must first of all accept that it is a Kenya Kwanza government, and then it actually sold a manifesto to the electorate, which was a Kenya Kwanza, you know, manifesto. So therefore you are saying, as the Kenya Kwanza government, you have actually sold a manifesto, and now us, as active Kenyans, we are going to hold you accountable. So to come to national TV and say that they should know that it is not a Kenya Kwanza government, it is a Kenyan government, then do not also ask for accountability. No. For you to have accountability, you are actually holding someone accountable for the promises that they sold to the electorate. So Kenya Kwanza came here and signed a women's charter and said 10% of the cabinet will be women. So we are holding you accountable against your manifesto as Kenya Kwanza government now that you have won. Before I even hold you accountable, I must say I acknowledge that you have won, and this is a Kenya Kwanza government. And you know, that is the problem that we are having, and I hope within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to have people accepting that, you know what, we went for a competition and we lost. We are going to have leaders in this country.
Right.
Let me just prosecute my case.
In this
no,
country,
let me prosecute my case.
There are no losers and winners.
Let me prosecute my case.
Let her make a point. Then
in a democratic state, you go for a competition, whether you are a socialist, where you are whatever you are, you go for a competition and you say, sisi tunauza hizi sera, and whoever wins then comes out a winner. And when there is a winner, there must be a loser. And the issue that we are having, and it even played out in the Senate, and you could see that it's really a wrong trajectory to go to. Because even when you have a situation where an outgoing president cannot bring himself to terms to accept an election has been held. People have even gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has pronounced itself on the same. There is a winner, and the winner is about to be sworn in on 13th.
All right.
We need people. I think, Ben, we need people to accept.
This. All right.
And no, let me conclude. We need people to accept and say
Gloria,
that this is the president-elect of this Republic of Kenya. And he came here and he was voted against a manifesto under the Kenya Kwanza umbrella. For us to hold you accountable, first we must accept you are the president.
No, Ben, I want to put this on in context. Elections are about the majority having their way and the minority having their say. That is not about winning and losing. It's about giving in to the voices of the majority, not that you have not heard the voices of the minority. In this election, there are people who voted against, there are people who did not vote.
Yes.
They are all Kenyans. And at the end of the day, once a government comes into power, it serves people, it serves Kenyans. And this thing about we and them does not then exist in terms of governance. That's then the constitution applies to all of us. Whether I voted or not, whether I like it or not, I'm part of it. But I'll not be drawn to other issues that are being introduced.
There's an issue that our viewers want to, and there have been discussions, especially online, about it. So, Kipchumba, and it's good we have lawyers in the house. So, the Kenya Kwanza side, so to speak, by political leanings, have basically seized parliament. But, according to the Register of Political Parties, Azimio on paper have a majority, because those UDM, the Maendeleo chaps of this world have not officially left Azimio. So who is majority, who is minority? Because our constitution does not envisage an opposition, right? It's a minority and a majority. So who takes over committees when it comes to leadership of the House, like leader of majority, leader of minority, the committees, and then who takes over the PIC and PSC?
I think if I listened keenly to the Registrar of Political Parties, she was of the idea that will await the ruling of the Speaker. So I think that is a ruling that will have to be made by Moses Masika Wetangula. But what we need to ask ourselves is this, because it goes back to what we call the political health and discipline of our people. Because at the end of the day, take for example, for all practical purposes, it came out before the last election, because you know we have pre-election coalitions and post-election coalitions.
Right.
If you go closing people to a coalition agreement for 30 days and telling people, if you do not agree to this coalition agreement, I will send DCI, I will send KRA, we weaponized institutions and forced people to get into an amorphous kind of a coalition. These are the results, because what you are talking about, Ben, presupposes that it is free will. People go to coalitions without DCI visiting them at night. People go to coalitions without EACC calling them or these other bodies. Because when bodies are weaponized...
Is a lawyer. No, I don't think he's right to begin to say that there are people in a coalition who are coerced. No. Because if they are coerced, there are also mechanisms to get out of it.
But Ben Kitili, the party leader for, what is the UDM, he said that you covered it. The media houses covered it. So at the end of the day, we ask ourselves, was the playing field then level for people to go into coalitions? Did you hear what Mutula Kilonzo, sorry, not Mutula, Mutua, Governor Mutua said when he was leaving Azimio? So at the end of the day, the question of free will comes in also. We understand the other legal ramifications, but the question is, Article 38 runs supreme, that I have a personal conscience that I can join Ben Kitili in thinking about what you think about tax. I can join Mr. Olo in thinking of what he thinks about devolution, or I can join her in pursuing her interest about environment, you see? And it is any time if I decide.
No, so, I was hoping, Ben, that we will deal with this thing legally. When you say there's a law that allows pre-coalitions, that's true. That law also allows post-coalitions, post-elections coalitions. Then what we need to agree is that if we live by the rule of law, then the manner in which a coalition is contemplated to allow for one to exit should be followed. So that time will come, because it says 3 months.
But Ben, let me ask Martin there's something, Ben, that needs to be contextualized here.
All right.
Just a minute, Gloria. There is something that people need to contextualize. Yes. I get you. The law says you can get in and get out. But I make you get into something that you will get out 3 months later. 3 months, when will they enjoy their right to get to post-election coalition?
Ben, I want to bring something to Wakili's attention. Today at the floor, there was an issue of where people are sitting and where they should not be sitting, because, you know, the legal majority and whatnot. And later there was an issue stating that at the Senate that, you know, as a legal majority, you know, as Azimio, then we have so and so numbers. But, you know, it came down to, it is a secret ballot. And it is not the coalitions or the pre-election agreements that come down to voting. So what I realized, actually at that moment for me, it was that we are actually finding legal solutions to political problems. When you're finding legal solutions to political problems, what ends up happening is that you legislate things that are not practical. For instance, if it was not publicly declared that these 10 or 12 Azimio fellas had moved to Kenya Kwanza, if they sat pretty in Azimio silently, and then we went to the Senate and we were voting, it is a secret ballot. The numbers would still showcase that those people have moved ideologically, they've moved mentally.
All right.
So it is actually a legal
So that's voting.
legal solution to a political problem. And when and this is the one thing that I keep telling people, when you're going to legislate, when you're going to put amendments and bills, and this coalition political whatever bill that came to just ensure that Azimio became a political party,
yes,
you need to ask yourself the end-to-end process of it. Is it practical?
All right.
And now we can see that it is not practical.
No. So I still need an answer to the question of, that's voting. When it comes to voting, you cannot, I'm coming to Martin, you cannot legislate that. But when it comes to the official records, and government bills are supposed to come through the majority side. So who brings government bills? So Martin, answer me this,
yes,
as we seek to get answers for that. Do you believe, there are those who say that the people, the political parties amendment bill of 2021 that brought about the coalition political parties was kind of thrown at, you know, pushed down the throats of a lot of these political party players?
I don't agree. There's a process that legislation is introduced to the assembly, it's discussed, and it's adopted. So that we must respect it. I mean, we can't say that parliament was coerced unless it says so. But once it passes the law, it becomes a law. We have every opportunity to change the law. We just go back to it and we amend it. We are parliament or we are national, I mean, with the Senate, we can amend the law. So that's no problem. What I want to be very clear about, and Ben, the question that you're asking is not being answered. Yes, it's possible for the minority, the leader of minority, to actually be the leader of government. And it has happened in various county governments where,
like Nairobi,
there was even Vihiga where, you know, the governor, even Kitui, the governor did not have the majority. So the leader of government really was the leader of minority, because then they were the ones who speak for the government. And then, of course, the other way around. So we have this system, and again, that's why we are saying that we are not about opposition and government. We are about majority and minority. And then you go back to the principle of democracy, where majority having their say, majority having their way, minority having their say. So basically what we are doing is that we are allowing debates that respect our differences, but also allow us to move to the next level. So yes, in the current National Assembly as things stand, when it comes to the constitution of committees, when it comes to chairing of committees that are traditionally done by the majority in parliament, the party with the majority will form those committees. And remember, it's not a voting issue now. It's a legal issue. You have the numbers, therefore, the standing orders allow you to form those committees. Now you whip the committees and so on, and you can make sure that they're inclusive, or you can make sure they have your representatives in the most. Like it happened in the previous government, you then have to give PAC and PIC to the minority so that they can also control it. Unfortunately, for this kind of arrangement, the PIC and PAC are likely to be with the minority, who are actually then the government. Therefore, right, these organs may not be able to oversight. So we have our own challenges around constitutional engineering, and with the time we'll deal with some of these things.
We are winding up, and I want to ask a very quick question, Kipchumba. There's a feeling from Kenya Kwanza that the president, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the leader of the Azimio Council, or basically the Azimio side, wants to frustrate the incoming president. Is that a fair thing? Is that a fair feeling, or is that their right as opposition, quote unquote?
We are aware.
Are you worried?
Yeah, I'm worried, because at the end of the day, Ben, when people have voted, And we ought, what our constitution says is what ought to happen. Because when we have the new leader, it means power and the people have decided where they want to go or who they want to lead them. So it is not in the business of the outgoing president to try and midwife hurdles, because that goes against our constitution. And that's why the constitution found it wise to have the Assumptions of Office Act, both at the county level and at the national level, so that an outgoing governor cannot sabotage his own exit, or an outgoing president cannot. We know there are several things that are being tried at different levels to try and make sure that it doesn't happen, but at the end of the day, the will of the people has been reaffirmed by the Supreme Court. So it has to happen. The small hurdles here and there, they will not have a bearing at the end of the day, because the country must move on, Ben. And this country is bigger than any politician and is bigger than any ordinary Kenyan. So what we need to ask anybody outside there is that allow for transition to happen. The greatness of a nation lies in the more we do these things peacefully, and when we allow more people to bring ideas on board. Those ideas are brought through transition.
Mheshimiwa, you're a legislator. You'll be facing this head-on. As they say in the streets, the opposition is doing press-ups for you. Are you relishing it? That should be a good thing, isn't it? Or
it should be a good thing. I was very disappointed to see the Azimio team walk out today in Senate. You must put up a fight.
No, that's also part of the strategy.
No, that was not a strategy. That was defeatist. You must ask yourself. In fact, the first strategy of actually trying to, suspend the sitting and buy in time, that was a better strategy, because if you're trying to buy in time, it means that you're trying to whip other people. And for me, it was a defeatist attitude. It's like, oh, sasa kwa sababu kila kitu imeshindwa, the process is flawed, tumewachia run to the press. No. What we need, actually, as the Kenya Kwanza government, we need people to step up and question the 50 billion hustler fund so that we can make it more efficient. We need you to step up and say, you might have the numbers in the Senate, but this and this legislature that you're trying to put, question it and criticize it, because the only thing it will do, it will actually make government be more efficient. But if we are looking at a situation where opposition is going to keep sulking and saying the processes are flawed and walking out of places and acting, what it is actually just accept. I participated in a party primaries, which was so difficult in Kisii County. And I can tell you, I know that it is difficult to lose an election, but I lost. But the moment that I accepted that I have lost and I actually considered defeat, it was the beginning of a new fight. And I really want to urge my Azimio, fellows, please accept, because the moment you accept, then you walk into the House of Senate. I saw Edwin Sifuna still in this very gray cloud of what can we do, just accept. And then when you come to the House, what's going to happen is that you will know, fine, we are in the opposition. What can we do? Let's put up a fight. And that's what we need in this country, for this country to be able to actually operate at 100%, such that there is someone actually putting the government in check.
And well, also, Ben, just a minute, Ben. Yes. Also, when we talk about opposition, it is not for the sake of opposing everything, but also when you even oppose, you bring more robust ideas out and you end up having a better idea. The end product of the thinking process will be better. But if people are to speak the echo chamber was to be created in parliament, we will have worse laws. So the more we have Kenyans, and then again also there is something that we must encourage normal Kenyans, that yes, the government of the president-elect is a Kenya Kwanza government, but at the end of the day, everybody must come on board and say this is right, this is wrong, Martin, so that we create a bigger nation.
What is your crystal ball telling you about the kind of opposition or, the team, which is Azimio, that is going to keep the government in check? What is it going to be vibrant? What is your prediction?
My prediction is this, and I want again to be fairly frank. The William Ruto I know will need a better organized opposition, well-structured, well-nuanced, to be able to actually confront it. So if they are not organized, if they have no good research, they will have a hard time. But I also know that if faced with good ideas, William Ruto will listen and will be able also to move with those ideas. So basically what we are telling ourselves, and this is the issue really for ourselves, that we have a country to live in, leave alone to run it. We live here. The governments will come and go. Or rather, regimes will come and go. Government will be around, but regimes will come and go. But we are here as people. What I wanted to ask my colleagues from, the government, Tuesday is coming very soon. Let us avoid things that will not help this country. Oh, the government is doing this. I've seen social media saying this. Really, Tuesday is coming. There is nothing that any of these current people in government can do that can sabotage the will of the people as of 13th. So after 13th, let's run. But at the end of the day, I've seen a level, and this is very serious, Ben, and I want to talk about it. There are people who are lambasting the outgoing president. There are people who are saying, no. He's a very human person. He may have his own challenges. His time has come. Let him exit. We have every opportunity to extend magnanimity, to be gracious, because then we have the responsibility. Kenyans have bestowed it to government. Government has to be very embracing. Even those it doesn't like, even those it doesn't respect, government has to embrace them.
Ben, allow me to just one small thing.
I want to give you each final thoughts. Let me start with Kipchumba. Just 1 minute, 40 seconds, final thoughts.
Ben, I think there is something that also today we must mark a tick in the box of William Ruto, that the implementation of those agreements, political party agreements, he has implemented them today. In the Ford Kenya, in the Kenya Kwanza coalition agreement, Ford Kenya was to take the speaker. Wetangula is the speaker. PA was to take the speaker of Senate. It has happened. So I think he's walking the talk in terms of ending the politics of deceit. But what we must say now, going to the future, is that we have a country as a people.
All right.
There are problems facing our countrymen, our comrades, that must be dealt with as we move to the future. Because what will put food on the table is not what happens, what a member of parliament will do outside what they are supposed to do constitutionally. That is what we must do together. And then again, holding this government responsible is our responsibility, the 50 million Kenyans. We are not about to leave that to anybody. And the president-elect has said the best way to guard the government is to hold it responsible.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa, your final thoughts?
My issue is on national unity. I want to speak authoritatively and say, as an outgoing president who has actually been very careful not to go against the transition plan of this country when it comes to, one president to the next, it would not hurt to congratulate the winner of an election. It would not hurt. And as an outgoing president who actually respects that he is the symbol of national unity, he should start by leading his Azimio delegation and telling them, we have gone to a fight, we have gone to the battle, we have lost, and this is where we are. And as actually a responsible leader, he should come out and just congratulate the president, because in itself, today, what happened in Senate would not have happened, because then it would have been the beginning of a very organized and a very strong opposition, actually, to the extent that people would feel that they have the hope to now keep government accountable. Right. But him as a leader, not accepting that this is where we are, not congratulating the president-elect, not actually coming out and trying to be a symbol of national unity. He is misleading a very huge faction of this country, and I want to say that it is very unfortunate.
Thank you.
Yes.
Martin, 1 minute, final thoughts.
I think we, as Kenyans, have a very good opportunity to welcome the new government and wish it well. As of 13th of this month, the new president will be assuming office. He has a big agenda, he has a big program, and we wish him well. I mean, he has the majority in Parliament, or rather he has the numbers in the National Assembly, he has the numbers in the Senate, he will constitute the executive. The only place
the Council of Governors.
That is not an executive office.
No, I'm just saying numbers.
Yeah, he has numbers.
Yeah.
No, the governors have their law, they will do their things, but where the president has the hand is in the executive, the two houses. The only place he may not have numbers, and he doesn't need the numbers, is the judiciary, because the judiciary will arbitrate on many other things. So there's perfectly no excuse for him not to deliver his promises, for these supporters and for his technocrats not to help him. Indeed, the people that he must get must work very hard, as he does himself, to help him realize his objectives. Of course, if they are realized, we will all be the better. The country will be the better.
Thank you. Let's leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on Front and Center tonight on NTV. Lawyer and political strategist Kipchumba Karori, lawyer and political analyst Martin Olo, and nominated member of the Senate, Gloria Oroba. Many thanks. Welcome you again. So we leave it on Front and Center this day where the Parliament convened, the 13th Parliament, the 4th Senate, and of course we are keeping an eye on a lot of developments ongoing as Kenyans usher in the next political dispensation. Join us every Thursday night from around 9:40 every p.m. here on Front and Center as we make sense of what's happening in this country, try to dissect the biggest political and governance issues in the Republic. I am Ben Kitili. Good night from Nairobi.
This is NTV.